Well, good morning. Thank you for coming in for your board candidate interview. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your name, your clubs and groups that you're involved in, which neighborhood you live in?
Okay, I'm Sue Muerdler, for those of you that haven't met me in my various roles in this community. I've previously been on the transition committee when we came across from Pulte to make sure we had all of our documents. I have served on the board, but then I took a break. And during my break year, you do all sorts of things. I took the time to be active in some of the other committees, such as the ARC and the social committee, to get another view of our community and its needs and meet more of the people than I did while I was on the board. But it's that type of thing. But I live in Copperleaf. It's one of the larger neighborhoods in this community. But my background, I was a Marine, as you can see from my shirt, for 22 years. And after being a Marine, I was a government contractor in DC. So I've done a lot of logistics work, acquisition work, and I was administrative and legal while I was in the service. But I have served in command roles, I've run programs, I've had multi-million-dollar accounts that I have been held responsible for in my background.
Okay, well, thank you. Let's dive right in. What motivated you to run for the HOA board again?
Well, I'd seen the outside in that and liked it, but my family comes from a family that serves. My aunt, even up through her 90s, was a water commissioner up in the San Juan Islands. My mother, while she was in her active living community, she was a safety advisor. And I learned a lot from that applies to our community too, is that she's the one that got them to put yellow paint on the uneven sidewalks so her friends in walkers didn't trip. She got them to make raised flower beds so her friends could continue to garden even though they were away from their original house. So people have served, and my aunt and my grandmother believed, don't gripe about something unless you have a solution or you're willing to dig in and be part of the solution. And that's why I'm coming back to the board. There's still a lot of work to do, and I think I have a broader background now than I did a year ago when I left the board. And like I said, Social Committee and ARC has enlightened me to a lot of other needs of our community.
Okay, well, thank you. What experience do you have that you believe will benefit our community?
Organization and dedication. Being a Marine, I'm very organized and goal-oriented, and I think we need that on the board. I was the one that started the checklist to keep track of activities that they're doing. And I hear that they're still using my Excel spreadsheet. But it's that type of thing, because we can't lose sight of what they've accomplished and what things they put on hold and what they're working on. And that's where you need that mechanism. And I believe in mechanisms like that. But I also believe in listening to the people, but also figuring out how we can communicate to the people that we like your ideas, but our budget can only withstand so much, because we understand, I'd say the majority of our community is on fixed income. They're on their retirement incomes, and they want to do fun things besides pay their mortgage and their assessments and everything. And so we have to make sure that we can enhance their quality of life and keep it within their budget, and they can feel like they can still have fun.
Okay, thank you. How familiar are you with the current bylaws, rules, and regulations of our HOA? And have you read all of the governing documents?
Yes, I have. During transition, yes, I was a librarian and an administrator for the transition. So I was the one that accounted for and gathered all the documents. And so I have read the CCRs and all those. And yes, I agree with some people. There are some parts of them that need tightening up or revising as time goes on. But people have to understand, you just don't rewrite things like that in the snap. There's a lot involved with it, with lawyer fees. We have to get approval from the major majority, which is 66 points and 2/3 of this community. We have 1,500. So when you figure that, that's more than 1,000 plus that has to approve before you can get it ratified. That is a huge one, and they have to agree to everything that's in the change. That's insurmountable. So we have to just be aware of those clauses and be creative, like how can we lessen the impact of those pieces of what I call them as hitching post rules. Just like, you can't hitch your horse there on Wednesdays and Fridays. Well, those rules, the blue laws, were on our books in the United States for eons when people weren't riding horses, but they were still there. And I think we have a few of those hidden within our CCRs.
Okay, thank you. How much time are you able to commit to your role as an HOA board member?
Basically, I'm retired completely. And so I do have that, minus my samba afternoons. I am open to be able to support it on a regular basis and flexibility throughout my week. It's just Sunday morning and samba afternoons. We have to work around those.
Understood, thank you. So you've served on our HOA board before. What was your experience? Is there anything you'd like to share about it?
I found it enlightening, and I was the one that started, like I said, the spreadsheet to track tasks and what they discussed without being hard minutes, but it was the item. And I think with all that, I learned that there was still, no matter how much communication we've had, and our communication, I think, has been vastly improved, there's so many in our community that do not understand the limitations that the board has. We can't just haphazardly do anything we want. We are guided by rules, and we are guided by federal rules and state rules and county rules. All these things play into it, and people forget, like, those are county roads out there. We can't do just anything we want to. And it was eye-opening when I was on the board how not the majority totally understood that, and also the cost of doing business.
Okay, thank you. How would you ensure that your actions as a board member are aligned with the overall needs of our community rather than pursuing a specific personal agenda or goal, or the goal of a particular club or group?
To me, I'm not vested in any group to say, okay, we're going to do this because I'm a line dancer or because I play samba. I don't play up here at the lake house. To me, you have to keep an open mind, and you have to listen to all, and you have to remind all those specialty groups they are one piece of the whole. And with a lot of them, they think they're very large components, and they forget there's 1,500, give or take, people. And we have to do things that benefit and enhance and maintain everybody's quality of life here. And it's the values of our property, but it's also quality of life. And I think that's where a lot of our programs, we're working very hard. If people bothered to read all the activities that are going on, and a lot of them are health related and everything else, we are attempting to bring information in.
Okay, thank you. How do you approach conflict resolution, especially when dealing with disagreements among residents or board members?
One, you have to sort of say time out, and you have to listen to let both sides air their thing, their opinion, and then you have to sort out and say, we're having to deal with this. Sometimes it has to do with budgetary money. Like, I want this, I want that, we should do this, we should do that, and it's like, great ideas. Is our community willing to have their homeowners assessment raised more than X percent? And the answer would be no, they're not. And therefore it's like, great idea, but we're going to have to figure out an alternative way to get there. So we have to sometimes plan alternative paths for a goal. Doesn't mean either idea is bad, And that's why I liked on our worksheet, we had a hold section where it was, great idea, we're not gonna throw it out. We're gonna put it on hold, and if there is windfall, we will then venture into looking what's on the hold list and see what's plausible and feasible that will support the majority of our community. And that's what we have to remember. It's for the majority. We have to do it to look at the totality of our community, not just at a certain sector.
Okay, thank you. What role do you see yourself playing on the board?
Oh, that's an interesting one this time. First is getting back on the board, and that's my first goal, is just to get back on the board. Once on the board, I'd have to discuss it with the other members because it is a vote of the board members who's sitting in which position and everything. And there's certain positions I don't see a need to change because they're very good at what they do and we need that continuity. And then we just sort of have to sort out the other open positions and we see where it goes.
Okay, thank you. How would you handle a situation where a board decision you supported was unpopular with a significant portion of the community?
I think we have been there in our past. The thing is, all you can do is try to educate those folks on why you stood and that try to get them to understand, be patient because you'll see in the long run it's for the best of all of you. And that's about all you can do. And just don't be thin-skinned. That's one job. You cannot be thin-skinned and be on the board.
Sure.
You have to have resilience.
Okay, thank you.
I'll put my flak jacket on. I'll pull it out and shake it out and put my flak jacket back on.
What do you believe is the most important role of an HOA board member?
I think we have to remember our bottom core, the fiduciary responsibilities that we have. We're responsible for that budget and maintaining it. And we're responsible to maintain quality and preserve our community as a whole. And we never can lose sight of that.
Okay, thank you. How do you prioritize the needs of the community when resources are limited?
Well, I almost go back to, that's always been an issue. We dealt with it in the government, we dealt with it in the military, and they used to put priorities on, like line them up, 1 through whatever, and you paid off, you went down where your budget is and you drew the line, and anything below the line wasn't going to happen this year, and else there was windfall. And you sort of have to, and it does take push and shove and a hearty discussion of all of those to see whether we redo the pool, we redo a roof, it's like which is a necessity and which is an enhancement. And necessities will always come before enhancements. And people need to understand coming up, we're an aging community, not just ourselves, but the community itself is aging. We've been around, so that means we have to look forward and preserve that we'll be able to pay the repair bills of the future.
Sure. Thank you. What experience do you have with budgeting and financial management? I know you said that you did some of that in the military.
I've actually helped build budgets for the VA when they had to start submitting true budgets into the government, where before VA was just handed a pot of money. So I've had to write from scratch and justify each line and everything of the money I was doing the health part and the hospitals, and I've done that. I've had contracts that I was responsible for. This is what you bid, this is what you have, and you have promised to get these 10 things accomplished in that, and you don't ask for more money. That is all you have. And so I've managed those. I've done things for non-lethal weapons. I was a non-lethal weapons special expert, subject matter expert, because I was a part of the group that stood them up back in the 80s of non-lethals. But it's going through the testing and being able to prioritize that you need so much money to do this phase, so much to do this phase, and you always have to leave your little buffer in, because by the time some projects get done, there's escalation. And so I've done that for the military, I've done it for VA, and I've done it as a contractor. I also was I was head of a condominium board in National Harbor up in DC, and I took it through transition and built the budgets for a condominium that's considered maybe a snootier neighborhood over there with MGM and the Gaylord and everything. And so I've had that work too with community.
Okay, thank you. How would you balance the need for maintenance and improvements with the financial constraints of the community?
That's where you have to prioritize. If your roof's going to fall in, you have to go, whoa, maybe that gets done first. You have to, and that's where the reserve study comes in. And the reserve study is a guide that really can help out where professionals, third-party engineers have looked and said, your furnace should last this many years, so you have to be looking forward that at this time. You need to look and see if it's needed or not. You need to review that. And so to me, we have to work with the reserve study and work with the reality of what storms do for us. And that's where we never know if another Harvey's going to hit us and what it will do.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any final thoughts that you would like the residents to take away from your interview?
I'm dedicated and I'm really energized to get back on the board and represent you and be part of moving us forward into our next future years. We have to continue bringing the goodness that we've already built after transition, but we have to strengthen it and continue that bridge. And I think communications, we've got a great staff supporting us, that's where we need to go. We still need to continue and not give up on further communications with the community and listening to them the best we can. But sometimes they need to understand that when we say, no, we can't do it, no, we can't do it, and that they accept it.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good luck. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.